Howdy, welcome to another Nonsense Wars production. Today we're going to take a look at some stuff I built for our club's latest layout. Each year our club puts on a display at a museum, and in the last few years we've gotten a little more disciplined about it and chosen a theme and planned it carefully in advance. This year the theme was the Roaring Camp and Big Trees Narrow Gauge Railroad. That is a tourist railroad in our neck of the woods. It's in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And while it might look like a logging railway, it's actually a completely from scratch tourist railroad, which is why there's still a lot of trees around it. So let's take a look at the locomotive first. This is a model of a Heisler, which is a type of geared locomotive. Instead of the pistons in the normal place, it has them at a angle, sort of like a V internal combustion engine, and that turns a shaft, which on the real locomotive is connected to both bogies and powers all the wheels using gears. This model is built at approximately 1:48 scale. We sourced some diagrams from the gift shop at the museum, at the tourist railway, when we went on a fact-finding trip with the rest of the club. This model is built using similar techniques to this Fairley locomotive, which is also narrow gauge. In particular, the boiler is the same construction and is built studs outwards. And this model is also built in two halves because the cab, as you can see, is built using mostly stud up techniques. The connection is made using click hinges, and it's actually quite sturdy. So there you can see there's click hinge fingers, and this uses the 1x2 click hinge to get the half stud offset. The front truck is pinned in to a Technic brick with hole. This just clips on, and the side built studs outwards like that. Moving on to the rear half of the locomotive. This model is powered, only the rear bogie is driven, and this is powered by a gear motor back here. So I'm going to remove the bunker, which we'll look at later. This is one of the 90s motors that came in the original Mindstorm set, along with various other sets around that time. And it drives this truck through a 1-to-3 reduction using a crown gear. Since the motor takes up the bulk of the cab, there's no room for an interior. The bunker connects to these studs here, and to increase the driven weight, the cold bunker portion is the heavy train weight brick. Let's move on to the train cars. This is an open-topped train car, and the actual train pulls several of these through the mountains, and they're open so you can enjoy the atmosphere in the redwood forest. The real cars are a steel underframe with wooden planking to form the body, and the construction is similar here. There's a 2x16 plate for most of the structure, and then a bunch of tiles facing outwards. These trucks here use the small train wheels that sometimes come in Advent Calendar and Creator sets. The other car is this enclosed car. On the actual railway, there's only one or two of these. Of course, there's only one here, but the train is also much shorter due to the reduced pulling power of the model. This is built similarly to the open-topped car with a 2-wide plate for structural strength, and all of these slats snotted on. The trucks are the same between the two cars, as are the end rails. On this car, the roof just sort of sits there, balanced on top of all of these 1x6 tiles. I need to build an enclosed car so that I could hold the battery that's used to power the locomotive. This time I gave some more thought to accessibility and making sure this was easy to use, since at the exhibit, somebody else might be operating it instead of me. So to push the power switch, instead of using your finger, you can push it with the roof in place by pressing down on this lever, which, due to friction, will stay down until you pull up again. Changing the battery is made easy even if you're not very dexterous, because you can just grab these handles and pull up to remove the battery box and change the cell. So we set this up in the museum in December, and it sort of ran during the show. There were a number of problems we encountered. One, the track was somewhat uneven, which didn't help. And of course, this is not a very heavy locomotive, so it doesn't actually have that much tractive effort. The other issue is because the radius is so tight, even a short train like this adds a lot of friction in the curves. So, see here, this is being bent around the corner. And this is actually a much tougher pull than any track we actually had at the exhibit, since it's a full circle. You can see it's struggling there a little already because it's slightly uphill on this side. Finally, these wheels, although they're conveniently small and easy to model with, are not very good performance-wise. I'm glad I tried this for the club layout. I don't know of another club that's done a narrow gauge layout collaboratively, although it didn't actually work as well as I would have liked. If I do this again, or we have another club display of this layout, I'm going to change these small wheels to these larger Technic ones, which will at least raise the cars off the ground a little bit and make them roll more easily.